Hello, Bangalore. Congratulations, Vinita, the
Thank
launch
you.
of your novel. Hi, Preeti.
Hi Ravi.
Uh,
Ravinder. Ravi.
we are on the stage for nth time, and let's try to make this session wonderful again. So, reimagine your life. It's a collection of your articles, some of which I have been privileged to read in Ozone on Sundays. When I go through the columns that you write, I find these are extraordinary stories taken from very ordinary life. What makes you delve deep into this domain? Why do you even feel the need to write those columns at the very first place? Those are interesting ones, but what goes in your head कि मुझे इस बारे में लिखना है?
Well, I think when I'm writing these columns, most of the time I'm trying to unravel stuff for myself. So, we all have issues, we all have questions in our minds, and we all have difficulties and problems. So, most people think through those, talk them over, unravel those. I think my column helps me a lot in doing that. So, and also I figured early in life that I have a quirky sense of observation and a very quirky sense of humor. It may not seem like, but I do. And it's like sometimes, like in the morning today when I was delivering the welcome address and declaring the festival open, I almost mispronounced a word. And if I had mispronounced it, it would have been like really, really bad. And when I realized that, I almost burst out laughing in the middle of my welcome address. It's as bad as that. So, but I didn't. I could control it. So all I'm trying to say is that, when you're thinking of issues, things that happen every day, something somebody may say, problems that you try to figure out for yourself, who am I, what am I doing in this world, what is the purpose of my life, things like that, or even like, can you love more than one person at the same time? So questions like that, all of us think of them at some point or the other. So the difference is that I keep thinking through and then writing it out. It helps me.
So these basically are answers to your own questions, and the reason you publish them is because you feel that maybe there are thousands like you who may have the same questions and they may find a solution in your solution.
Well, it wasn't so as altruistic as that, really. I didn't write for others. I wrote for myself when I started off. And I wrote because I think.
What does this writing for myself mean?
Right, yeah, I was just coming to that. Writing for myself means that you want to be heard. All of us want to be heard, all of us want to be seen, and we want to engage with other people. And since I had this platform, I work with the Times of India, I had this platform, so I had a good platform to be able to engage with others. And I think you get a lot of satisfaction in life when you connect with other people and you realize that we are all not so different from each other. Our thoughts, our fears, our feelings, our passions, our thrills are all the same, and we all have the same issues, the same confusion, the same doubts in life, and somehow we blunder through, and if we help each other, connect with each other, it is so much better. So the columns help me do that when people respond to the columns. And then over the years, I think I did start writing for others because a lot of readers started interacting with me, and particularly when I come to Bangalore, it is amazing the number of people I meet here at the literature festival who come up to me and tell me that, I read your column every Sunday. So that gives me great happiness. And if I can help people through the same thoughts that I have and in unraveling them, then nothing like that.
Great, congratulations, you're doing that. Preeti, just like the collection of columns here, your first book, 34 Bubblegums, were a collection of real life stories.
Absolutely, yes.
What made you pick real life stories and that collection as your first book? Why not fiction? Why not? And were there stories from your own life in it, or were there lives of people around you?
Yes, they were all true stories from my life. So at that time, I had just lost my father and I had started a blog to get over the deep grief of losing him. And every day I would write in the blog, I said, we don't have any control over what happens to us, but we do have control over what we choose to focus on. So I decided I would focus only on the positives. So my blog started getting a lot of response from various countries, which I never expected. From US, from Brazil, from UK, and all of that, I started getting so many mails. And then, everyone wanted to see who this person is behind this blog. And the blog was anonymous. At that time, it was called Just a Mother of Two. It was anonymous. So they were all real life incidents. So I did not think anyone would even be reading me, you know. And then the book came out. It was called 34 Bubblegums and Candies, because the concept was this. It said that every incident that happens to us, it's like either like a bubblegum or like a candy. If it's a bubblegum, you keep chewing, you keep thinking about it, you take what you can from it. And if it's a candy, it's a little sweet nothing, which just goes down. And many years later, I felt, oh good Lord, you know, I was writing so badly. Why don't I relaunch this book? Because it all happens with our first book. So that book is relaunched now, and now I'm happy with the book. Now it's called Love a Little Stronger. So they are all true incidents from my life. And as I wanted to add something to the question that you asked, Vinita. So, you know, long before I became an author, Vinita, I think I've told you this. So I read Vinita's column and I loved it. Okay, one particular thing, you had written something about souls. And I absolutely loved it, and I didn't know Vinita at that time. I emailed her, and then many years later, we met, and by the time I had like 10 books published, I was a best-selling author, and I told Vinita, I said, you know what, that column that you wrote, I really connected, and I mailed you. And the first thing Vinita asked was, did I reply back, you know?
I was going to ask now again.
She did reply back, and it meant a lot to me at that time, because I was just an unpublished author. So, you know, I do the same thing now. Anyone writes to me, I always reply back, because you never know whose lives you're touching. I saw that with the blog. It was all real life incidents, and people come and leave comments, and, you know, they felt heard. So when you write something which resonates with people, they feel heard, they feel connected. So I completely get what you're saying, and hence the real life stories, because first it was easy to write.
You talked about you don't know whose lives your stories may touch.
Right.
That's you have this power of touching and moving people.
Yes.
And you write about love, loss, heartbreak. Majority of the consumer of this particular genre are young adults in this country.
Yes.
Now, if you are given a power with which you can touch these many lives and perhaps change the way they are thinking, or they have their own struggles to deal with, does this sense of power also scare you? Is it possible that somebody who happened to read your work, there's a big mass out there, and you are certainly this powerful that you can influence them?
Yeah.
Does it scare you also at times? How exactly are they going to interpret your work?
Yeah.
And right now, there is a big churn happening, the way we think. We have been very recently exposed to the word called feminism. Perhaps we are talking about gender equality. There is n number of things happening in this world, and there are so many questions and answers which people are seeing. There is element of depression we are talking about. Does this scare you, that if I land up writing something and somebody interprets it in a very different way, or not the way you want them to interpret?
See, so what happens is it's a very conscious choice. So my second book was on mental health. It was about a girl with bipolar disorder, and this book is a sequel to that book. And both the books have done exceedingly well. So I keep getting messages saying that I feel depressed, I feel like this, you know, I feel like that. So when I get such messages, I'm extremely careful. So I say, listen, it looks like you need a counselor. I'm not a qualified counselor. I've just done research on this. So kindly talk to your parents, or kindly talk to a qualified counselor. So I reply to each one. And then again, when I'm writing, I'm just being true to the story. For example, in this book, there is a book which the protagonist discovers, which tells her the methods of suicide. So I made sure that I don't want people to Google and get that book, okay? Because I said, even if someone Googles that book, I don't want them to get it, because I'm aware that a lot of young people might be trying to emulate what is in this book. So I disguised it in such a way that it will not lead them to that right book. So that's a banned book, by the way.
You mean that they cannot search for how to commit suicide and come to your book?
No, I don't mean that. I mean, in this book, the protagonist discovers a book in the library. So that's actually based on a real book which is banned. But I made sure in the first draft I had given the name of that banned book. Then when I did the second draft, I said, why should I give people that little ladder if someone is depressed? Why should I give them that little ladder that, oh, acha, I can read this book and there are methods. And that book is like very intense. It's banned in India, but I read it, you know, for every word I read it, because I needed to know what it is, and then I changed the name of that book. So I gave a fictional book in this one. So you will not, if someone reads my book and tries to find the original book, they'll never find it. And if you Google how to commit suicide, you'll immediately get helpline numbers. You know, so
It's actually a huge sense of responsibility that comes with such kind of writing, really.
Yes.
You realize that you are, when you're putting out your words like that, and people are looking at them and seeking some guidance from what you've written,
Yes.
you feel hugely responsible. And in that sense, I always feel that, like, I call my column my guru. I feel that my column teaches me a lot, and one of the things it's taught me is to be highly responsible about what I put out there in the written word.
True. So how do you deal with this? Because what Preeti writes is fiction. Your columns are non-fiction in nature. You do not create characters, and you can never say that it's a fictitious take. Which means a reader is, there is a message for him in every column that you go and write. Do you feel this sense of responsibility, and how do you even deal with this pressure that tomorrow there will be people who perhaps would read your column and would take a stand right opposite to it, or may interpret that column, because this is not a storytelling. What she's talking about is a storytelling. How do you deal with these equations when you are writing every Sunday when there's a new column?
One of the things that over the years, maybe that's what I've become in my life also, in my personal interactions with people, and also in my writing, because I would always say that our writing is just an extension of our personality and the way we are. I try to turn everything into a positive. And it's become such a compulsive thing that, anything negative that happens, I try to see, is there any way that I can turn it into a positive? And so that I don't feel regret, I don't feel disturbed. How can I do that? So most of my columns are very encouraging to people, and very consciously, they are feel-good columns. They are columns where I will understand the problems that somebody is going through and try to make them look at the other side, or try to make them feel better about it. So I don't think that there's anything in these columns that anybody could really read, and if they were to emulate, would come to any harm with that. I consciously try to leave a very feel-good kind of a thing at the end of each column.
But at the same time, some of the problems are very challenging. Some of the problems are such that, and I'm asking this because you write non-fiction, is that, have you ever felt that I know what I need to do, but even I am not a perfect person in my real life? But I do believe in this particular solution, though I know there will be a public debate on it the moment I put my neck out. Does this thought scare you, and have you ever tried not to write your thoughts? Because end of the day, we all have different kinds of thoughts, and again, they are subjective. When I say good, bad, worse, ugly, dirty, wild, it could be anything. How do you hold yourself back, or do you even hold yourself back from saying what you have to say, just for the idea that people may not perceive it in the right way?
Well, if I'm writing about myself personally, and a lot of it is me in those columns and the books, I do hold myself back from writing certain things. A lot of people will, after reading my columns, say, "Oh, you are so evolved, and you must be knowing such a lot because you write these columns, and I get to gain so much from the columns, so I can't imagine what an evolved person you must be." And I always say that what is in there in the columns is not necessarily what I follow in my life, but it is what I think I should follow. It is what I believe I should follow. So I put out there only what I think is the right thing. There are a lot of things that I say which I am aspiring to and trying to achieve, but may not have achieved. So it's very weird actually. At home, what happens is that my children and my husband often use that against me. So the moment I say something, it's like, "Oh mom, you're saying this? You who writes all that ozone stuff? How can you say something like that?" Or my husband will say, "Hey, come on, how can you say something? Tomorrow when you write your ozone, then you'll be thinking differently." So it is true. I mean, of course, I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect. Nobody at all ever is perfect. And I believe one should not be, because perfect is so boring. It's the imperfections that really make somebody exciting. And
so why not write about making people imperfect if that's exciting?
Because
Valid question, right? Why do we want to create a world, chase perfection? Just be the...
But I'm not trying to make people perfect through my columns. I'm only trying to make people feel very good about the way they are. I'm just saying that you are perfect as you are. Good, bad, ugly, like you said, black, white, whatever. You are fine as you are. This is you. I talk about accepting yourself. You have to accept the way you are, and going ahead, accept the people in your life the way they are. There is so much peace after that. I've learned to do that after many, many years. But, thank you. So I feel that the moment you start accepting yourself and your loved ones for what they are, you can then move on and do other stuff with your life. Seriously.
And accept the fact that not everyone would accept what you want to accept also.
Yes.
Anyway, Preeti, what do you...
Actually, we should be asking Ravinder this question
yeah, of
because
course.
he
We are
gives
coming
a
back
lot
to
of
him.
advice.
Yeah.
And they're good. I watched your YouTube
which is
videos.
why I have chosen the moderator's role today. Nobody
And
gets
we
to
are,
ask
don't
questions.
worry, we're going to attack him from both sides.
Yeah. We'll ask him
Alright,
this,
but coming to you, now this is again shifting from non-fiction to fiction.
yeah.
One thing, because I write fiction, I know that all my thoughts,
Yeah.
which I know people would question, and not that I do not have an answer if they question, but I find a home-like feeling in transporting them into my characters. I didn't say this, my character said this. Because I'm a fiction writer. Now that character is a part of me also.
Yeah.
Do you enjoy this phase? Have you ever made thoughts that are your thoughts but made your character voice it out there because you felt that maybe it's the easier way to go about it?
See, I write fiction, so obviously, it's fictional. But I must tell you this. So I wrote this book, Secret Wish List. Okay, it's extramarital affair. So this lady trapped in a boring, unhappy marriage. 15 years into the marriage, she has an affair with someone whom she knew long back. He comes back into her life. And after reading that book, okay, my mom calls me up and she's saying, it feels like you had an affair. Is that true? She's asking me. So I took that as a great compliment. And at book launches, people believe that it's my story. And okay, now initially I used to think, oh my God, how can they think it's my story? Now I've written 12 books. How can I be 12 characters? Yeah, how can I be Ankita and Diksha and V and I've written many from the male character's point of view. How can I be Ankit and I can't be everyone, right? So now I just take it in my stride. And yes, these thoughts I think do come to every single person. Okay, someone would be lying. A married person would be lying if they didn't at some point think of having
So don't
sex
talk about
with
the people. We're talking about you
someone
right
else.
now.
Anyone. I'm a person too. And even you would be lying if you say that you didn't fantasize about
This is
someone.
not coming to me.
You'd be
I'm
totally
talking about your
lying,
first
right?
novel in which you chose to write from that character's perspective.
First novel was truth. It was all
No,
true
I'm talking
stories.
about that the extramarital affair, the book that you talked about.
Yeah.
I want to hold right there.
Yeah.
And when you
Everyone,
made that,
please buy the books. Secret Wish List. Please
Yeah,
buy it.
they will all buy it. But right now you are on the spot out here. We're going to make it a fun session, right?
Yeah.
There's no point. So, what were you going through? Did you want in real life to become? Did you want to borrow that character in real life and feel that, oh my God, I wish I could live the life of the character, and because I may not be able to live it in the real life, let me take the charm in writing this character and making that character live that life. Did this thought?
Wait, so I'll tell you how that book came about, okay? After that book came about, thousands of Indian women wrote to me saying that, you've got into our heads and written our stories. And thousands of Indian men, and you can go read the reviews. Men have said openly, oh my God, I did not realize that I was like this. So when I read it, more importantly is what my husband said, okay? So my husband read it, and he's always my first reader, first editor and all of that. So he said, you know what, baby? You've taken the bad qualities of all the men in the world and you put him in that Sandeep. So I laughed, and we laugh about it, So it was like that, and I'm very glad that that book helped to change people's thinking. I'm very glad, because mostly Indian men don't think about their wives having desires. That's just how it's conditioned, People are just conditioned that way. Once you become a woman, especially in India, once you get married, once you have kids, that's it. You are some devi, or, your worship. It's a ma, women are human too. So those are the thoughts that went on in my head when I was portraying a character like that.
So let's come to Ravinder then.
No.
Yes. So more than anybody else, you should be telling us this, you know, because you've used slices of your life in your books, and your books have been true to your life. I don't know about the recent ones, but at least the initial books. So how did you feel about putting yourself out there, and how did it help you? And were you able to connect to a lot of people going through a similar struggle, and how did you feel about it?
Well, yeah, I started writing because writing was catharsis. For me, in the longer journey of life, I started writing fiction also because I believe that there are stories around me which I need to tell, and those are real life struggles which I may not be facing, but there is merit if I choose to write them. Now, these are the stories which would have moved me so much. End of the day, I believe that as a writer, you got to step out and make yourself vulnerable. You will be able to connect with people the moment you make your own confessions. Every book of mine in which I am the protagonist, and these are autobiographical in nature, of course they are fiction, they are romance, but I have never shied away from confessing that I had these bad qualities in me. Which is why people, I believe, and this was not the idea, but in the hindsight I see that, which is why people appreciate that. I don't think there is anybody is perfect, as you mentioned. Gone are the days when in our creative works we would show a bad character, a villain who is all dark, and a hero who is all white. We are all shades of grey. I just mentioned in the previous session also. Bring out that flavor. People want to read stories grounded and rooted. I may have 100 bad things, and this is the way I think. And there are struggles in my own mind. Of course, I wrote a novel on attractions are very natural. And attractions are not going to ask you your marital status or relationship status and happen to you. They will just happen to you. And what do you do then is a question. We all cross with that particular bridge at one point of time or other. And I wanted to address the question. Instead of even painting attractions or relationships, outside relationships or affairs black and white, my interest had always been, why do these come into play at the very first place? Why one relationship isn't enough? So that becomes a very interesting research subject for me. You know, why did we even invent marriage at one point of time as a school of thought? So that's where I get into, and there are so many whys that I want to question myself. And all of us right now, and even if I leave all of you out there, right now I have got some explosive thoughts, but the moment I put out on a public platform, I know what people are going to say, and I also know what these people, when they are in their own private space, are going to raise similar thoughts. We are now in a world, long answer, but you have asked me this question, so I have to.
I don't know why Preeti and I are laughing. I have no idea.
Okay. But very interestingly, I realized one thing, that there are so many people out there who are waiting to express the same thoughts, but they do not have the courage.
Yeah.
And the day you voice them, they will stand with you and thank you, for you are the first person to say that on stage out there.
Absolutely.
I found those in my novels and the feedback that I get from people.
Really, and that is why you gained so much success with your first novel, because I can't remember another author who put himself out there in such a manner, totally exposing your hurt feelings and your rawness completely for the world to see, so that so many youngsters could relate to that, and they are your fans ever since. And I always tell this story about Ravinder, that I was once interviewing him in Calcutta in a bookshop, and so mostly, normally when it's just Ravinder who's being interviewed, it's young girls in the audience. So the bookshop was full of these young girls, and the moment we were through with the session, we were walking out of there, and all of them started running after him, and he ran ahead. He was slithering like a snake trying to get off, and they were running after him. Someone was holding onto his arm, somebody onto his shirt, and he was almost like, I've never seen any author.
I'll Paytm you 1,000 rupees as agreed for making me a hero. I'm kidding. Thank you so much. You have always been kind, Manita. End of the day, this is a creative work. You will find your own critics also. How do you take disagreements coming from readers? And I'm sure there would be some who would say, I don't agree with your hypothesis. And
Yeah, totally. I get that all the time. And I think a writer has succeeded if you manage to reach people who disagree with you. Because, you know, when you have achieved a certain amount of success, if everybody is just praising you, it means only your fans are reading. Okay, there's a large pool out there who are not your fans. So I think it's important to hear voices of dissent. And then I see what are they criticizing. So some of them are very sanctimonious. Oh, you know, how can she do this? Or in 100 Little Flames, so there is this, thing that happened about an old grandfather being sent to an old age home. And no, you know, how could they do it? How could you write this? You know, you should have written this way. But then they're not the author, like I'm the author. So
True.
at the end of the day, I write what I want to write. You're absolutely free to agree or disagree. And this is what I want to portray. This is the story I want to say. So I do get a lot of this thing, and I take that as a compliment because my writing did manage to rankle them. Okay, either they have to feel something when they read it. They may not absolutely love it, but if they completely hate it, it means I have managed to get under their skin. So that means my writing is powerful. So that's how I take criticism. And I think it's a good thing. If people hate your writing, it's a good thing.
Dad, how do you take disagreements in your own head? Has it ever happened that 5 years down the line you would have written something because you as a person used to think that way, but 5 years down the line you have evolved is the word that we all use when we say that we disagree to what my ideology was at that point of time. Have you seen, and because you write non-fiction, because you talk about life, relationships, contemporary life in general, has it ever occurred to you, and would you like to give example? My interest is in getting an example. Aisa hua tha, and now my thought process has changed.
I'm surprised that you asked this question today because just yesterday I've written a column where I picked up something I had written 20 years ago, and that was on happiness. What does happiness mean to me? So I reproduced that. It will come out in Sunday, Times of India, next Sunday. Not tomorrow, but the Sunday after that. And then I wrote, how has this feeling changed for me today? So what does happiness mean to me today? So that time I've talked about it as a very giddy feeling, and all the time I want to be on a high, and I want the adrenaline flowing through me. So I want to jump from one excitement to another, and I feel. But then after that I had said that I believe happiness comes from within. So it's not the chirping bird that is singing so sweetly. It's me hearing that bird that is turning it into such a sweet song. So that's something I'd written back then also. And I realized that this has not changed. I still believe that happiness comes from within. I am responsible for my happiness or unhappiness. But that part has changed completely. Like if that part was where I wanted one excitement after another, I was almost like a running brook. A stream which is rushing around from one place to another, happily laughing, excited, seeking excitement all the time. But today, I'm more like a placid lake. I feel that one should have depths, one should have meaningful depths, happiness today to me is not laughing out loud, it is a smile that starts in the soul and comes till the eyes. That's what I've written, and that's why I'm so well prepared to answer this question.
No, you were well prepared for other questions also. It's not, but glad. Very soon I'll be coming to you, so keep your questions ready. Before that, I'll move to Preeti. We'll do the rapid fire in between also, so don't worry about that. When you chose to rewrite that first novel out there,
Yes, the first book, yeah.
First
collection,
book.
yeah.
why did you do that? Was it something that you also disagreed with what you thought back then, or was it the format which you wanted to change?
No, because I felt I have become a much better writer now, you know. So it was the same stories basically, but I removed some stories and I added some stories. So 80% of it, maybe 75% of it was the same thing, but written in a much better manner. Like when I read the sentence, that was just for my satisfaction as a writer. When I read the sentence, I say, oh my God, how could I write that? I can write so much better now. So it's those stories, and then I have added certain other things, which is basically wisdom gained over the years. Okay, and so those are the ones I added because I felt not because the stories have changed, because stories can never change. They were all stories about my kids, about my husband, about funny things that happened to me. Something happened to me in college. They're all funny stories, so they never changed.
Okay.
But the way it was presented changed. You know, the way it was written. The stories are perfectly the same, but the sentence, the editing, when you read it, you get a very good feel. So a difference between maybe a very fine whiskey and just a ordinary whiskey, probably that's it. Like,
Okay.
What about you? If you were to rewrite your first book, would you write it any differently?
I think I'll ruin it if I do that.
Sometimes that can happen because that came straight from your
heart,
heart.
yeah.
I think everything else also comes straight from my heart. In fact, I thought I wrote better books in my journey as a author. And 10 years down the line, this I tell everyone when companies are recruiting and they say that we need people with so much of experience. I tell them that perhaps a zero experience guy is bringing an incredible experience. Look at the baggage of experience a 10-year-old guy would bring because he's so confined to think in that line of thought. For a starter, he can look into all the directions out there. All that I write today also is from my heart. All that I write today as a matured author. But perhaps there was some rawness to that story, and perhaps it was a brutal tragedy. And I never witnessed such a brutal tragedy ever in my life. Maybe that's the reason it has got a very different sort of a response versus the response that I have received for my other works. They all have become bestsellers in a way. But I myself do not understand. My question is why my debut novel, just flew off the shelves. So I'm not saying that others are not doing bad, but why that has gone to that roof, I have no idea. No matter which book event I go to, people have questions for that particular novel.
Don't worry, it's the same with all Bollywood stars also. There's that one movie that does so well. And
Could
the rest
be.
are
Maybe
good.
that's how the creative world runs out
in
there.
my case, it's that life is what you make is always there, and the subsequent they've done well, but not as much as life. So I think I agree with him about the rawness. That time you're raw, you don't know what you're doing, so you do something. So probably it's that.
And also when you write your subsequent work, you have an audience in mind and they are looking up to your work and they have their own expectations and somehow you kind of feel the pressure that unke liye ab likhna hai. Though I try not to get that kind of a pressure, but I don't know what it is. Creativity doesn't come with a formula and there is nobody who can say my next novel or next movie or next song is going to be a hit. We can only try as best as possible out there. Alright, we have got some rapid fire for the ladies here. They have
For you
prepared
as well.
for me. I don't know. I will answer the questions. I don't have the questions out there.
And since my book has been launched, so I'll reserve the right to answer or not answer.
That's not the case. If
So
we
you
are
have to
playing,
answer.
you have to answer all the questions. So Preeti, who goes first? Preeti goes first.
I'll ask.
You will ask me.
And I'll ask you.
You'll ask me.
And you'll ask Preeti, yes.
You'll ask.
Okay, so
dude,
I'll ask
I'm not
Vinita
asking
first.
anybody.
I'll ask Vinita first.
I'm keeping the time. Okay.
Okay.
Start.
Write India or read India?
Right, India.
Okay.
My answer is read India.
Okay, yeah, mine too.
Only then books will sell.
Exactly. Your favorite Write India author? Put her on the spot.
Okay, so that's not fair.
Okay.
I'll name the latest one, Salman
Right.
Rushdie.
Okay. And the third question, a date with Modi or Amit Shah?
No way, I'd rather not have a date at all the rest of my life. Never.
This is one answer where Rahul Gandhi may stand his chance.
Yes, absolutely.
I had to wake up the audience
Rahul
with this
Gandhi
question.
stands all chances with me anyway. Otherwise, politically, everywhere.
Okay. Fourth one, if you could reimagine your life in any city in the world, where would you reimagine it and who would you be?
Who would I be?
Yeah, you could imagine it anywhere in the world, any city in the world.
Okay.
You could reimagine your life.
Yeah, what's coming right to my mind is New York,
Yeah.
and I would be a fabulous writer.
Okay. But you're already a
No,
writer.
I would
Or
be, I would
already
be
a
a
fabulous
fiction.
writer.
I would be a fiction writer. I'm not a
Okay.
fiction writer. I want to write fiction.
Fiction, okay. One TV show you have binge watched.
Ah, well, all the thriller shows really. I watch them all.
Name one.
Dexter. Dexter.
Okay. Alright. That was a rapid fire for me, not too
Okay.
difficult.
There's no gift hamper here.
Yeah, no, nothing. So now mine for you.
Okay.
Uh,
Hey, there's time up that they are saying.
no, that doesn't matter. Just I'm the festival director. So
That is a good one.
Okay, so have you ever been in love with more than one woman at the same time?
At the same time, no.
Yes. No.
No.
So you're more a serial lover. One after
Serial
the
number,
other.
one after the other. I wait for my chance.
So what's your first thought in the morning when you get up every day?
चाय कितनी देर में मिल जाएगी?
Oh God, really?
I'm a tea
Every
person.
day?
Yeah.
How,
Every.
how evolved?
No, I go to bed think I'm proper Punjabi. I go to bed thinking जब सुबह होगी तो चाय पीऊंगा.
What's the one book you will never write?
One book that I will never write. I've never written that one.
All right, now I've run out of questions. So you
Great,
ask.
time up. We open the session to the audience now.
Why you have to ask Preeti one or two questions?
I don't have
please?
questions at all out there.
Oh.
Okay, which Indian popular author would you love reading?
Indian popular author.
Commercial. Commercial author, not literary.
You have to say Ravinder.
No, it's
I can say Chetan Bhagat.
Okay, you got the answer. On that note, I don't want to ask any other questions to Preeti.
Okay,
You
so-
broke my heart. Yes, sir. And I please request you to keep your questions short. Just wait for the mic to.
When you wrote this book, Reimagine Your Life, at that moment of your decision to write this book, what was in your mind?
So this book is actually a collection of my columns. But it's a collection of my columns which appear in the Times of India. But I'll tell you what was in my mind when I titled it Reimagine Your Life. Because a lot of my columns talk about this, and I keep saying that any time in life we should always give ourselves a chance. Always give yourself a second and a third chance and be kind and good to yourself. So if ever you feel that, I missed out on something in life, you can always re-inspire yourself and reimagine your life and go ahead doing that. It's never too late to do anything.
Any more questions? Yes, the
This
lady.
is to Preeti Shenoy.
Yes.
In one of her books, like Life is Calling, she written Mrs. Ruth Hayden her husband had committed suicide, and she brought up 3 daughters alone. You've never mentioned about the 3 daughters in your book.
No, I never mentioned about 3 daughters. I have the book right here.
I can show it. I have.
Also.
She can show it.
Wait. Also.
She's a reader.
Maybe she
Also,
hasn't
the husband.
plagiarized though.
Wait. The husband never committed suicide, so you'll have to read the book again. I
have it.
Yeah,
I can
I
show
don't
you.
want to give away. I don't want to give away what happened.
There are some pirated books out there.
Yeah, maybe you
With the
bought a
same name?
pirated.
I
Who
have
knows?
brought it from Amazon.
Yeah. Amazon also has pirated sellers, by the way. No, but her Mrs. Hayden's husband did not commit suicide at all. One. And second, Mrs. Hayden has a son, not 3 daughters. Please reread it. Please reread it.
Alright, after the session, Vaiva Bose. Yes, sir.
Hello Preeti ma'am. I have been a great fan of yours. I have read all your books.
Thank you so much.
Within a month of release. And the thing that we were talking about right now, about the 2 books, 34 Bubblegums and Candies and Love a Little Stronger. I read both of them, but I found it similar. So
It's the same book. So,
Yeah.
in fact, in the back blurb, it's mentioned
Yeah.
earlier published as 34 Bubblegums and Candies.
yeah.
It's
So,
already mentioned.
When I read it, I felt kind of disappointed that I reread the same stuff and I messaged you.
Okay.
So it was
Did she
a kind
reply?
of
So-
criticism.
so
And
it
you
is
didn't
the
get a
same
reply. Tell me you didn't get a reply.
No, I got a reply.
Shit, man.
See, I always reply.
And
No,
the
it's
kind
so.
of reply that you gave me was so positive. Means I couldn't have imagined that somebody could react to criticism in such a good way.
Thank you so much. So that answers Ravinder's earlier question.
So
Bad moderator, yes.
No, you're good.
So how are you able to deal with criticism in such a positive way?
I honestly do not know what I replied, but that book is very dear to me, and I have like over and over in the promos. So I didn't want people to feel cheated like you felt. But what happens is people sometimes miss out. No, everywhere I have said earlier published as 34 Bubblegums and Candies, that fact is never hidden. On the back cover itself, like when readers pick up a book, I think readers should carefully read the back cover. It's written earlier published as 34 BNC. And here I've added something. So I didn't want anyone to feel cheated or anything, which is why I'm always honest. So whatever reply, I don't remember what I told you, but whatever I told you was very honest and from the heart, and thank you so much for this.
And all I'm now thinking is I should go back and make a remake of my previous novels. पीछे छोटा सा लिख दूंगा एक.
People will buy it.
लेकिन one more thing, 34 bubblegums and candies has been withdrawn. Now if you try to buy it, all the stocks were withdrawn. It is removed from the market. If you go to my website, you will never find 34 BNC. You will never find me promoting because I promote only one. Because I don't want the reader to. But some unscrupulous people are not returning a few of the stocks. So very rarely you will find it. So anyone finds 34 BNC to be like one, vintage item, a collector's item probably.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, like a rapid fire and go quick. One is everybody said writing for myself, and you picked that up and asked her a question on that. But then the answer seemed to say, I want to connect with people who think the same, etc., etc. Is there something that is therapeutic for yourself when you write? Question one. Question two, if they had the same content, couldn't we have had the same title? Question three, is there something like self-discipline that you have to actually follow to really achieve finishing a book? If so, can you share what the tips are? Thank you.
Ma'am, what's your name? What's your name?
I am Rani.
Rani ji, I loved your questions.
Thank
the
you.
confidence with which you asked them.
Whom are the questions
Yes.
for?
Yeah, the first one is for Vinita, the second one is for Preeti. The third is for people. That is it therapeutic writing?
Oh yes,
is it
yes, very, very therapeutic. So
Because
therapeutic.
you said writing for myself, but you want to connect also. Then how is it writing for myself is her question.
Yeah. So when I'm writing and trying to unravel my own thoughts and questions, I am forced to keep thinking about a topic all through the week because I know there's a deadline and I have to write a column. So which is why I said I call my column my guru, because it forces me to think, to observe and to really ideate in a manner which I would never have done if I didn't have to write this column at the end of the week. Because I know I have to do it and the responsibility I have towards my readers, I work so much harder on that thinking, that observing, that researching and reading up about it and then giving it. And it invariably solves a lot of stuff for me as well. It is very therapeutic. Very often on a Friday when I finish writing my column, I am in such a state after that I actually feel like doing a jig.
Okay.
So I couldn't possibly have that same title because they are two different books. There's a lot of new content which is added and a lot of stories have been changed. And also when you say 34 BNC, it was more like a young adult book. Okay, when you see the cover, when you see the positioning. But this one was very different because it's more like, I don't know if you've read Chicken Soup for the Soul. Because each story when you read, it will leave you feeling very positive, very connected. So it was all edited, a lot of new content was added. So there was no sense in keeping the same title. Then I need not even have changed it, right?
But this guy needs to verify if this was same or different. He's having the last laugh out there. Just kidding. Anyway, I forgot the third question, and do we have time for more questions?
There's one lady there who wants to ask.
Yes. Do we have mic there?
Okay, just stand up and ask.
Just stand up and shout. Have you tried flipping your genre?
I really, really want to write fiction. It's just not coming. It's not happening. I've started several and I've not finished any. They have to help me.
I have written non-fiction. It's a collection of my newspaper columns, Why We Love the Way We Do. It's everything about relationship, man, woman, this thing, any questions that you can have. It's written after a lot of research, so I have written non-fiction too. And I've also written creative non-fiction.
Great. Oh, me? Yeah. I'll stick to fiction for the time being. I started non-fiction on a YouTube channel wherein I talk about relationships, but that's non-fiction.
Yeah,
one
and
more
also
question.
through your books, the life lessons that you share through
Yes,
your books.
yes.
I mean, it's a mix of fiction and
It
non-fiction
is.
in that
I
sense.
take charm in writing those, but the wrapper of it is fiction and precisely romance.
I have this
Works that
one
way.
question. Whenever we see cinema or read books, should it be about how the society is or how it should be? Like, real versus real. So what do you think?
I
what
think
is
you
the
should
actual-
totally just lose yourself in a book or in a movie when you're watching it or reading it. Don't even think about these things and just lose yourself in it and come out with it feeling whatever you're feeling, thinking whatever you're thinking.
And if you're
Don't
thinking,
overthink.
is it real, that means the book or the movie is not good enough because you're having time to think about all this. It's not engaging you completely.
And suspension of disbelief is very important. Whenever you're reading or watching a movie or whatever, you can't go in and there and say, aisa thodi hota, it can't happen. So what a movie they've made. You can't. You have to suspend your disbelief. You have to go in there with an open mind.
Just last question.
How many last
How many questions?
It was with somebody else.
What advice would you give to a budding writer? Like, what would be your template for writing or your method of writing?
Okay, in one line, both of you.
Read 100 books before you write one book. Read a lot. That's very important if you want to be a writer.
Got this.
And write as much as you can.
What a perfect thing out there.
Totally, yeah.
On that note, last question, the guy in the green. Green.
Hey, this one's to Ravinder. So when you mentioned explosive thoughts, what were you referring to? That the world is not
I've been dying to
publicly
hear
ready
those.
to accept,
Thinking about
but
me.
somehow would secretly feel the same way. What thoughts were you referring to?
Tell us your explosive thoughts, Ravinder.
So 10 years down the line, I was thinking about the LGBT kind of romance, which was explosive back then. But now it has been accepted. Politically also, why do we even need religion for that matter? All this Delhi election going on, there's a Ram politics and Hanuman politics and Allah politics.
Yeah.
Why cannot we disassociate? Why did even, so I question the very sanctity of the religion coming to the picture. Our humans were not enough. Why do we need a religion for that matter?
Okay.
And why do we question the person who believes in a different religion? I think atheist would be something everyone would then hate. So all these sorts of questions. Thank you so much. On that note, because that was the last question to the moderator, I call it an end of this session. Thank you for being a wonderful audience out there.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Ravinder.
Thank you, Vinita.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Arthur.